Hey, yo, hold up. So Terence Crawford don't have to fight Jaron Boots Ennis because it's a lose-lose situation, but Canelo got to fight Crawford 21 pounds underneath the division he campaigns at, and he can't say it's a lose-lose situation? Huh? Man, come on.
Game, like, let me get the belt to become the undisputed champion in this division, and then that's it.
Could be.
What about Boots? Boots is the mandatory. He's calling you out now.
I don't have, listen, right now in my career, a lot of people like boost this, boost that, boost this, you know. Fighting Boots is a lose-lose situation. You know, I win, they're going to say, oh, well, he was young, he wasn't ready. You know, he was talented, he was skillful, but you got the experience over him. You got, you know, so much more than this kid that never been tested before, you know, because we always seen him win and fly in colors, a fashionate way, you know, to where we say, oh man, he's cold, he's skillful, but he's never been in the ring with nobody to test him. So me fighting Boots will be like, okay, well, you beat Boots. It's not a mega fight. It's gonna sell a little bit because of your name and what you just accomplished, you know, but now what? I'm looking for big challenges. You know, I'm trying to go up in weight and fight Charlo, you know, because that's something that's history in the making. It's a lot at stake. You know, there's nothing really at stake with fighting Boots. You know, I'm at the tail end of my career and I'm trying to make things make sense.
So is it about just the money?
Definitely.
Okay.
100% about the money. You know, I'm at the tail end of my career and I'm trying to make things make sense.
So is it about just the money?
Definitely.
Okay.
100% about the money. Not taking anything away from Boots, but, you know, where I am at in my career right now, I didn't fall my ass off to get to where I am. And I deserve to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I don't care what nobody say, how anybody feel, or any of that. You know, fuck them.
Do you see the?
That was Terence Bud Crawford. He says, I don't care what anybody has to say. I don't care about any outside opinions. F him. When he was asked about fighting Jaron Boots Ennis on the Breakfast Club. Shout out to Charlemagne and DJ Envy. Oh, how the tables have turned. We gonna talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, again, Terence Crawford did an interview with the Breakfast Club after the Errol Spence victory. I believe it was right after the Errol Spence victory, right? So 6 months ago, Terence Crawford did this interview with the Breakfast Club. Terence Crawford told you out his own mouth, and now I want to recap this as it pertains to some information that I delivered on my channel to you. So make sure you guys subscribe. So Terence Crawford, he basically said, why should I fight Boots? And you guys see it on the screen. Fighting Boots, Terence Crawford says fighting this boxer is a lose-lose situation. So around August 2023, right? And that fighter is the 26-year-old Jaron Boots Ennis, who's 31-0 and 28 knockouts. So, yeah. It says fighting Boots is a lose-lose situation. If I win, they're going to say, oh, he was young, he wasn't ready. He was talented, he was skillful, but you got experience over him. Canelo Alvarez, payday, you want payday, I know that. Canelo Alvarez just did a recent interview, and Canelo Alvarez stated that he is not interested in fighting Terence Crawford. A lot of people have a lot of opinions, and on my channel, I will give you guys mine. It is so funny. I actually put out a tweet. Hashtag unpopular opinion. I said, and I quote, "It is hilarious. People are mad at Canelo Alvarez for saying that Terence Crawford brings him nothing because he's 21 pounds smaller. That's a fact. That's not even an opinion right there. Terence Crawford just fought Errol Spence at 147 pounds. He's a welterweight. Canelo has fought as high as 175, but he's currently fighting at super middleweight, which is 168. 21 pounds away. 168, undisputed super middleweight champion, Canelo Alvarez, right? So I said I find it hilarious. People are mad at Canelo Alvarez for saying Terence Crawford brings him nothing because he's a 21 pound smaller fighter. Canelo Alvarez says it's a lose-lose situation for him. Bud Crawford himself said Jaron Boots Ennis, which is that clip that I played you from the Breakfast Club, and him and his team have said it in other more recent interviews, right? But Bud himself said fighting Jaron Boots Ennis, who is a champion now. He wasn't when Crawford did the Breakfast Club interview, but he was the mandatory at that point for Terence Crawford. Crawford says it was a lose-lose situation, and Boots brings nothing to the table. And he also tweeted later on that Boots is fighting in small theater. So basically he's not like a pay-per-view attraction, is basically what he's saying. And he said the fight will make a little bit of money based on my name and what I did with Errol Spence. You guys heard the audio, but fighting Boots, what's the point? So I'm asking you guys, what is the difference? Because at least Boots Ennis is the same weight class as Terence Crawford. But y'all bums are inconsistent as uck with your talking points. So I ask you, what is the difference? How come you have people making tweets, making comments, making videos, making Facebook posts, and they're seemingly angry with Canelo Alvarez for turning down a fighter like Terence Crawford? Listen, Crawford can fight, but the reality is he's a welterweight. He has not established himself at 154. He has not established himself at middleweight 160. So we know he hasn't established himself at 168. Boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of sport, right? So at the end of the day, Crawford hasn't done anything outside of lightweight to welterweight. So when you move to 54, when you move to a division like 60 or 68, you hit the reset button. That's what you're doing. You're basically hitting the reset button because you've accomplished nothing. And it doesn't matter who you are. Like Andre Ward, he's a great champion at 168, but when he moved up to 175, he had to prove himself as a legitimate light heavyweight, which he did do, and he defeated Sergey Kovalev twice, right? Once by stoppage. So that's the reset that you hit when you enter a new division. These other fighters aren't bothered. Like, let's say Alexander Usyk. He's a fighter that I like. Alexander Usyk, he did great work at cruiserweight. He was in the tournament. He knocked out Tony Bellew viciously. What does that have to do with fighting Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, Tyson Fury? Tyson Fury's 6'9". So the fact that you beat another UK guy like Tony Bellew, who's about 6'3", and you beat him at cruiserweight has nothing to do with beating Joshua or Daniel Dubois or Tyson Fury, who are all colossal heavyweights, you know, and two of them are massive punchers, Dubois and Joshua. You see how this works? This is true boxing. Now, for the best in the business, and it's not even close, subscribe to the channel because right now I'm cooking y'all. So the point I'm making is when you move up in weight in boxing, it doesn't take away your past accolades, your past accomplishments. Those are still part of your history, part of your legacy. What I am saying is you definitely hit the reset button because Canelo Alvarez was a great champion at 154. He still has to prove himself when he moved up to 160. He still has to prove himself at 68. He still had to beat Kovalev to become a champion at 175. So it's ironic, like I said in my tweet, that Canelo is getting all this flack for not participating in the Crawford conversation and people are making it like Canelo is ducking. And he told you as clear as day the real reason why the Crawford fight, in his mind, doesn't make sense. And if you listen to what he said, what he's saying, there's validity too. Why should I give an opportunity to a guy who's done nothing higher than welterweight, fight him at my current weight where I'm undisputed? What's in it for me? Like, what do I gain from taking this fight? And some people are like, oh, see, this proves he's scared of Crawford. I mean, let's say Crawford is moving up. So let's say he's faster. Even if Crawford was getting shots off on Canelo Alvarez, that would make Canelo look bad because a smaller man came up and he came out guns blazing and he was fast and you didn't have his timing down straight away. Any of these things would make Canelo look bad because you're letting a smaller man come up and win a round against you. Someone come up 21 pounds. And what Canelo is saying makes perfect sense. And I find it hilarious, very, very comical that the Bud Buddies, the radical Crawford fans, are the same ones arguing and saying, oh no, he slighted Bud. Oh no, Terence Crawford, he didn't get the opportunity. Oh no, Canelo Alvarez is a bad person because he's not giving Bud a shot. This makes no sense. But the same fans were perfectly fine with Bud Crawford lil boying Jaron Ennis, a guy who is now a champion, but was his mandatory when he beat Errol Spence, right? But a guy who fights out of his weight class, campaigns at the same exact weight class that you're at, and it's okay for Terence Crawford to say, why should I fight Boots? It's a lose-lose situation. I gain nothing from it. I don't care what the fans say. He says, F them, F the fans. So why can't Canelo say the same thing? Hey, F the fans. Me fighting against Terence Crawford, a welterweight, makes absolutely no sense because you guys won't give me credit if I stretch him and you'll just say, oh, he was much smaller. Or, Canelo didn't say this, but me being an objective boxing analyst, I will say it. If Crawford wins rounds or somehow won the fight versus Canelo Alvarez, then Canelo, his whole reputation would be tattered because you let a guy move up 21 pounds and beat you. How is it fair for Crawford to not fight Jaron Ennis, who's in his weight class, keeps calling him out, was his mandatory, and he can say, oh, who's he beat? Jaron's only fighting in small theaters. Jaron Ennis, he hasn't proven anything. It's a lose-lose situation for me. Why should I take the fight? I'm at a point in my career where I'm only looking for big fights. But why can't Canelo say that same thing? Because let's be real. Terence Crawford has never done astronomical pay-per-view numbers. Bob Arum, his old promoter, put that out there and said, I could have bought a house in Malibu with the amount of money I lose on Crawford fights. So why can't Canelo do the same thing that Crawford did? So it shows you a deep level of inherent bias when it comes to boxing. These fools who talk boxing aren't even consistent with their own rule set. They're perfectly fine when Terence Crawford, the Bud Buddies, they were perfectly fine with him coming up with all of his reasons for not fighting Jaron Ennis. But a person like me, I think Boots, he's not a PBC fighter, but he's worked on Showtime and you're fighting on Showtime and then Showtime's out of it. So I'm assuming Crawford's going to still possibly do another fight with PBC. So basically you guys are with the same people. You can make it happen. He's the mandatory, but you have your own reasons why you feel this fight doesn't make sense. So why can't Canelo do that, right? Now, full disclosure, Canelo should fight David Benavidez. I've always said that. And that's another problem we have. Crawford is in the same division as Boots. Crawford is not in the same division as Canelo. So I can understand someone saying, why should I fight this guy? What does that do for me? Like, for example, Jaron Boots Ennis. We'll just go 2 divisions instead of 3. Why would Jaron Boots Ennis fight El Rayo? Why would Jaron Boots Ennis fight Keyshawn Davis? What would that do for Jaron Ennis? Right? So this really exposes the bias in boxing, the people who really can't keep it 100. Would you be mad at Jaron Ennis if he says, why should I fight a lightweight? Why should I be willing to fight against El Rayo? Why should I try to, be fighting a guy like Keyshawn Davis? What does that do for me? Like, for example, let's say El Rayo or Keyshawn Davis fought Jaron Ennis at welterweight. These are guys that fight and campaign at 135. 2 divisions up is 47, which is welterweight, where Jaron's at. So let's just say El Rayo, I'm just random names. El Rayo, a lightweight. Keyshawn Davis, a lightweight. Let's say they moved up to fight Jaron Ennis. They haven't even cleared out the lightweight division. They haven't fought at 140, but they just skip a whole division, bypass that whole division, and they say, yeah, I'm going after Jaron Ennis. How many of you would give Jaron Boots Ennis full credit for beating a lightweight who moved up 2 divisions, and let's say Jaron Ennis stopped him? You would give him credit and say he's the best welterweight and all this type of stuff for beating somebody who was much smaller, who didn't acclimate in a new division? The answer we know is no, you wouldn't. But because Crawford has online fans who love to, kick up dust online and stuff, they want to create like everybody's ducking Bud and create these conversations. But the reality is, a person like me, mans like me, I'm consistent. I wouldn't want to see Jaron Ennis fight a lightweight. What's the point? He's so good. I don't want to see somebody who, now it'd be different if the guy started at lightweight like Crawford and then over the years moved up to 47 and then that fight presented itself. But this is why I don't like these circus fights of people just radically jumping up. This ain't a movie. This ain't a video game. Marvel versus Capcom. I don't want to see fighters moving up in weight because it's a built-in excuse when they lose. Like Jermell Charlo can be like, oh, Canelo was too big for me. And it's just like, it almost wasted everybody's time. And then they get paid, the fighters get paid, which is cool. But I would have rather see the division stay intact and Jermell Charlo fight Tim Tszyu, which is a beast of a fight. And it's a fair fight because both fighters are at 54. Tszyu was the challenger, and then the undisputed champion was Jermell Charlo. To me, that makes a lot more sense as opposed to what you see on the screen, Canelo versus a 154-pounder at super middleweight. So call me old school or whatever, but the thing you can't call me is a liar or inconsistent. I am very consistent. The problem is you aren't. You're not a consistent person. A lot of people who cover boxing and give boxing videos and put out these posts, they're not consistent. Don't ever get mad at me when I'm the model of consistency. I didn't want to see, you can check my pedigree. I didn't want to see Amir Khan move up and fight Canelo. And I have a video, you can type it up. It's called 7 Reasons Amir Khan and Canelo Fight Should Not Happen. I told you what was going to happen in the fight. The video's still up. So I didn't want to see that fight. I wasn't okay with Kell Brook moving up to fight Triple G. Hell no, guys. Hey, Max is big drama, guys. I didn't like that fight. I didn't like Jermell Charlo moving up to 168 fighting Canelo. When do these situations usually play out? And don't tell me some old fight like Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya or Bernard Hopkins versus Antonio Tarver. Fights that y'all weren't even watching boxing when these fights occurred. I'm talking about modern boxing, last 5 or 8 years or so. Name the mega fights where this plays out for the guy who's moving up double-digit weight. in one fell swoop without acclimating. Even the great Shane Mosley, he took a couple fights in the welterweight division before he fought Oscar De La Hoya. To me, that's true boxing. I'm not okay. I'm not like Shane Mosley was a beast. Shane Mosley destroyed lightweights. He needed the competition. Right now, I'm on Shane Mosley's record. So you see, he was destroying lightweights. He was destroying them. So to pursue bigger opportunities, he moved up after the John Brown fight, and he fought against Wilfredo Riviera, 33-1. You see? And he fought at welterweight. Then he fought Willie Wise. Right? So basically 2 tune-up style fights, probably some ranked guys back then. 1999, 2000, he moved up from lightweight because he was destroying all lightweights. And then later in 2000, in the summer, he moved up to 47 and had a fight with Oscar De La Hoya. Crawford is talking about he's at the end of his career and he's at a point where he wants to pick and choose and all this type of stuff. And the reality is he's not trying to do that. Terence Crawford is not trying to he's not trying to fight David Benavidez and David Morrell or take 2 tune-up style 168-pound fighters to prove his worth in that division. He just wants to jump up immediately and get Canelo Alvarez. And I don't like that for many reasons. Aside from being old school, I also don't like it for the simple fact that it robs people who are in that division actually campaigning in that division. Like, how come Morrell can't get that fight? Or more importantly, how come David Benavidez, who's been doing amazing work in the division and is a former 2X, 3X champion in that division, how come David Benavidez can't get Canelo if Canelo were to chose a guy like Terence Crawford? And furthermore, once you answer all those questions, answer how it's okay for Crawford to turn down Boots because it's a lose-lose situation. But Canelo's basically saying the same thing. Why should I fight this 21-pound smaller fighter? Y'all just going to make excuses. It's a lose-lose situation. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and I'm done talking about it.